I'm Bob Hallmark in studio today. It is summertime, and we have seen it many, many times along East Texas roadways. Invariably, it is wildlife that has been either injured by motorists or wildlife that is just running along the roadway. And invariably, people make the same mistake. With good intentions, people think that they can actually help. Well, that's a mistake that you shouldn't make. And to talk a little bit about that, we're joined now by Longview Animal Control Supervisor Sailor Knox. First of all, let's talk about the problem that we have with people doing this. You have to have a certain qualification before you can even attempt to do something like that. Is that right?
Absolutely. There are people that are trained that have gone to school for these kinds of things, and believe it or not, it's not even us. We are just temporary support for these animals. They are licensed rehabbers. Those are the ones that ultimately are going to be the people that end up with these animals, that treat them, that diagnose them, that get them back where they need to go. In all cases, depending on where you're at, there's different numbers you would call. If you're in the city limits of Longview, you're going to reach out to animal control. We will send an officer out there to gather up the animal, whatever it may be, and then we have a list of rehabbers that has been given to us that we can reach out to at that point, and we can always get it the fastest care based on whoever's available on that list.
I don't know exactly what it is, whether it's a fascination or a good heart, or people thinking that they have the ability and the resources to help. But it's something that seems to be very common. People will see an injured animal, and we've had a number of different things, hawks, coyotes, deer, raccoons, even birds of prey that get injured.
For sure, for sure. And we've experienced anything you can think of. We've definitely seen it. We've picked it up. We've got it where it needs to go. The problem you run into with these different things is a lot of people think that they can scoop something up, take it home, maybe go get some kitten formula for it from the store, and try to rehabilitate it themselves. But these animals, even if they're not injured, if they're injured, obviously it's a more severe case. But even if they're not injured, these all these different animals require something specific, and anything other than that specific thing could be a hazard to their health. That's why these people are trained to do these things. You mentioned birds of prey and different things like that. Some of those animals are protected. It's highly illegal to be in possession of something like that. So you run a lot of risks. You put yourself in danger. You put the animal in danger. You mentioned things like raccoons. There's 5 different species in East Texas that are high risk carriers for rabies. So maybe the reason that animal is injured is because it's got neurological things going on, and it's extremely dangerous, and it could be life threatening to you, if it was to bite or scratch you. And so, these are all concerns that maybe people aren't thinking about when they're picking these animals up, but are true and real concerns that I would have, in situations like that. And so, all of these scenarios definitely are left best to the professionals. A lot of people think you should just call the game warden right away if you see wildlife. That may be appropriate in certain cases, but you got to remember the game warden is just one man covering a huge, huge, huge area. And so he's a very busy person, to get a hold of. And he's more or less typically going to be the person that's involved on the legal aspect of it. Once someone has taken the animal home, that's when he would get involved. For the primary care of that animal in that moment, it's always going to be best to reach out to the fastest responding agency. That's going to be animal control for any city governments and places like that have animal control. Out in the county, that's going to be the sheriff's department. Police departments are okay to call too, because if it's near a roadway, it could be causing a risk to other drivers. So definitely make those your first priority points of contact. And then if the game warden's someone that needs to be involved, they will obviously get in contact with him, and those list of rehabbers, and make sure that animal is cared for appropriately.
You bring up a good point, which I wanted to explore, it's is wildlife, and it is illegal to own and keep wildlife. That should be the simple answer right there. But
Correct.
also the fact that some of these animals carry diseases with them, and they can be very aggressive. So there is a danger to the public by doing this in the first place, even if you have good intentions.
Absolutely. It's a very high risk that you run picking things up. If not for you, if you have pets at home, obviously it could be a risk for your whole family, pets included, because some things might be zoonotic diseases, some things might not be. Either way, you're putting someone at risk when you take on something like this.
There's also the knowledge factor here. If you are not knowledgeable about what you're looking at, don't attempt to approach it and pick it up.
Very good. And I agree 100%. I think as East Texans, especially the ones native to here, were born and raised in the woods to an extent, and so we all have stories of at least a family member somewhere that had a raccoon at some point as a pet, or something like that. Those things aren't okay, and you are putting yourself at risk, even if you're getting these things when they're babies. Another thing people come across often is young wildlife as well, which we're hopefully moving out of that season at this point. Spring's over, it's very hot outside, so I think we're going to see less and less babies. But mothers will intentionally leave their babies behind while they go and forage and they bring food back and whatnot. And so this also applies to young wildlife as well. Mother is somewhere watching, guaranteed. Unless you watch something happen to the mother, I can almost promise you the mother's somewhere close. They know where the baby is. We have people that are clearing land and underbrush, people that are mowing yards. They come across wildlife as well. They may even injure it on accident. Still call us in those scenarios, run it through animal control, run it through the appropriate agencies so we can get you the advice you need and the resources you need. And if a rehabilitator is what's warranted in the situation, we have a long list of those. We can reach out to the people that are licensed to care for these animals.
All right. Sailor Knox with Longview Animal Control. Thanks so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you.
All right. And we'll have much more on this story tonight on KLTV 7 News. For KLTV Web Extra, I'm Bob Hallmark.